What's up, guys? It's Dimz back for the attack, but you already know that. And we're back again to talk about the runes of the resident whale kitty, Orcane. Just a quick reminder, at max level, you have 8 spaces to fill with your runes. Mix and match to your heart's content, but remember, there is no reason not to fill up every single space. Now with that, let's get on to the runes. Rune A, bubble attacks cause more hits. Rune B, up special have reduced startup and recovery frames. Rune C, neutral special have shorter limits between shots. Rune D, air dodge travels a greater distance. Rune E, forward special has reduced startup frames. Rune F, forward special can now be angled up or down. Rune G, down air now spews bubbles downwards. Rune H, forward air now has super armor. Rune I, dash attack and neutral air can now be held. Rune J, opponents hit by bubbles are now pulled toward Orcane. Rune K, neutral special can now be charged to go greater distances. Rune L, more than one puddle can be active on stage at a time. Rune M, all bubble attacks will now release giant explosive bubbles. Rune N, puddles will not be consumed by attacks used on them. Rune O, strong attacks used on puddles have greater range. Now, it's time to give my personal opinion on each rune. Keep in mind that I'm only factoring each rune effectiveness in Abyss survival mode, not Abyss versus mode, and I'm judging each rune as a sole entity. Also, remember to take my opinions with a grain of salt. Yeah, Rune A, do not buy this. I repeat, do not buy this. It has no kill power, it actually saves the enemies more than it hurts them, and then on top of that, Rune M is the better version of this move. And by better version, I mean the only good version. Like, do not buy this. This rune is a little bit unnecessary. During testing, having a faster up B, it doesn't really change things too much at all. So get it if you want, but I would say you should just skip this one. Now, Rune C gives you a decent projectile since now you're shooting it faster than before. But be careful because sometimes I lost my puddle and I did not realize it. So you always gotta watch out for your puddle. Now, Rune D is a must-have. I don't care what build you're building, this is a must-have and probably one of the best runes in the game. Having your air dodge reach so much farther increases your movement options because you're able to wave dash way further now. And it also increases your recovery because sometimes Orcane can struggle with recovery if he doesn't have his puddle, especially in panic situations in Abyss mode. And plus, the avoid the floor wave, now Orcane can do that with so much ease. And then on top of that, this rune only takes up one slot. How good this rune is for only one slot, it makes it a must-have. Also, if you combined it with Rune F, if you have Rune D and Rune F, you probably can recover from any length and any distance in the whole game. Like, Rune D is a must-have. Now, Rune E is a little too fast, and I say this because usually you have control over the distance you want to side B or side special into. But with this rune, you actually will always go max distance because sometimes it's too fast for you to even control. And in panic situations, it might mess you up when you're recovering. Now, Rune F actually greatly helps recovering. When you're on that giant wall trying to scale it back up, the fact that you can side B and go upwards instead of just side B and then wall jumping will actually make your recovery really good. And then on top of that, it's a great movement option to go up and down platforms as well. Rune G just makes down air greater. I'm like, it already was a combo move that did damage. Now add in bubbles, you just do a lot more damage. Rune H is a great protective rune. If you're using forward air to hit someone with your back or as a movement option, you are still open to attacks. But with Rune H, it protects you with that super armor. Honestly, Rune I is one of my favorite runes because you can literally just wrecking ball across the map. And I'm like, it doesn't do anything too significant, but you can just wrecking ball across the map, and that's just fun. Rune J is one I might have to tell you to avoid, because pulling enemies toward you and your team as Orcane is something that you probably don't want to do, and then on top of that, it greatly reduces your kill potential with all bubbles. And it actually might get you killed if you pull the wrong person toward you. Rune K is only good if you adamantly want to use your puddle as a projectile. If you're thinking of using it as a last minute recovery, don't, because Rune D and Rune F will be way better for that. But if you really want to use your puddle as a little pea shooter or as a projectile, this might be for you. Rune L makes it possible to have more than one puddle in play, up to 5 to be exact. And if you're wondering how about recovering, you will recover in the order of the puddles that you shoot it out at. Now with this, it makes it that you always have a recovery, or you always have a puddle on the floor for recovery or for making your attack stronger. It really depends on if this is something that you want to do. And in Abyss mode, where if you put a puddle on a platform, it might not be there later, this is actually something to consider, but you know, not super mandatory. Rune M is a great one because as Orcane in Abyss mode, having all your bubbles have increased kill potential is great, because that means you can just run around the field and bubble everywhere and get kills. Having your puddles not be consumed by your strong attacks is great, because that means you can keep reusing it over and over and over. However, if you explode the puddle into bubbles, or if you recover on the puddle, it will consume it, so keep that in mind. And Rune O is great for playing even a further keep away, since your range will be farther and you don't have to get that close to the enemies. Alright, now it's time to categorize Orcane. Now throughout all the practicing and the testing, it's shown that Orcane will be best played as a support. Why? Because even though he dies, or he can die really early, he doesn't do enough damage to be that offensive. And because he dies early, he doesn't really make the best of tanks. But as a support, it's actually really good for him because he has so many great movement options, using forward air and his wave dashing and his puddle recovery, making sure he could come back from almost anything at any time. And then on top of that, he just runs around and peppers the whole screen with bubbles. This does so much damage and most likely kills, and even if it doesn't, it really helps your team out. So the fact that he can support his team so great and avoid dying makes him a great support. Plus, the runes you choose for him is also heavily determined by the runes your teammates have, or the set your teammates running. So that actually makes him fit into a lot of teams as a support. Now if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see the one that's coming out for next week. If you have any questions or want to just tell me anything, you can leave it down in the comments section. But like I said, I'll be back next week with the next character.